I mean, I think it's going to be obviously like we're taller, we're more athletic. Obviously, we're much more physical. Like the practice, today was, was really physical. We don't have really any like physically weak players, whereas like last year we were an underdeveloped, team. Obviously, Christian was a physical player for a guard, but we didn't have a whole lot of physicality, which, the work that Mike has done and the work the players have done, the work on the physical shape has improved a lot. But, we've got to get healthy. Brendan out today, Cook was out today, obviously still, and Tyrese is dealing with a quad right now. So he should be back, I'd imagine, by next week into practice. But I think once everyone's back on the court, obviously competition for roles, competition for minutes is going to be, a far cry from what it's been.
Is this what you kind of had in mind, building the program by the time you get to year 3 to kind of have the situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's that competition raises everyone's level. It allows you, obviously, to create the type of environment practice that's going to have your team, really dialed in on every rep of every drill, every possession of every practice, because there's a guy at your position that's putting pressure on you to play the right way and to show up the right way. And also, too, it allows us to play the style of basketball that we want to play, which is pressure a lot more defensively and get the ball down the court a lot quicker and not play as much half-court basketball as we've played. My teams, like they've the teams that I like to coach can get after people, in the front court and apply constant, responsible pressure. So each team allows that.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Dan? Hey, Dan, can you give us just kind of the nuts and bolts of how you structured practice today, what you were able to do, and how long it went, and how close it was to normal, given the protocols in place?
Yeah, so we practiced 2 hours today. We do have 5-minute restrictions, on Andre, on Tyler, and on Jalen Gaffney, who, have all returned within the last, week to 10 days to live stuff. So, the 2 hours today, probably about 30, maybe 35, 40 minutes of it was live. And, obviously the rest of it was, offensive breakdowns, things we want to run as a flow game in transition, or, some quick hitters in the half court. And then obviously a lot of defensive principles, with our half court man and getting into some of our full court man. So I feel like I feel like it's very, very important, for us to play as much basketball 5-on-5 as we can, as much live scrimmage as we can, because these guys really haven't played 5-on-5 basketball since March. So we're going to do a lot more live play scrimmaging than we've ever done before.
Hey, Dan, obviously you've talked a lot about the team depth, sort of, you said, 3 through 10, 3 through 11 on the roster. I think we probably all know that James is kind of the number one guy going into the season. Do you see him? Do you see sort of a number 2 guy, like a wingman for him, or kind of a guy who will step up and sort of maybe be that number 2 scorer? Do you need a guy like that, or could it be multiple guys? Do you look at that at all going into the season?
Yeah, I think the key thing is just this may be more of a team where, obviously James has got a chance to be a dynamic player. And then I think we've got just a number of guys that could be double-figure scorers. I think we may have a tough team this year where we get, 4 or 5 guys in doubles and a couple other guys that are, maybe in that 7 to 9 point range. I think the strength of the team, is going to be, that balance that we have, like players 2 through 8 or 9 for us are going to be, guys that are, you almost feel like you have 7 or 8 starters. Tyler's a guy who can, on any given night, get you 15 plus. I think Tyrese, I think RJ, Gaffney, Brendan, Josh, Isaiah. Bill, did I miss anybody? Yeah, man, I think we just you want somebody to emerge that way, but I think you could be looking at, a team that's got tremendous balance. Obviously an explosive guy in James, but I don't think we're going to put anyone on the court that the other team isn't going to have to guard. So.
And real quick, what was Tyrese's issue today? I didn't hear you what you said.
Yeah, he's got he was he made a play on a deflection last week, and took an awkward fall, and he's got a quad strain, which he should be able to get back pretty quickly from. So.
Mike, Anthony?
Thanks. Hey, Dan.
What's up, Mike?
I was hoping to take you in a time machine back about 10 years. I was wondering if you could share some memories from your very first practice as a head coach at Wagner, and share some thoughts on how, the way you ran practices back then either differ or are similar to the way you run a practice now.
Yeah, my Wagner guys, when they see this, they'll I'm sure agree and wish they maybe had this new guy, this guy with maybe 10 years experience. But I would say practice 1, we were easily into the 3-hour range. So you 3-hour practice. The intensity, today was an intense practice, but that you couldn't even, the level of insane intensity from a pivoting drill to free throw shooting, I think was probably felt like a fire drill. So yeah, just the intensity level, because at that stage, as a young head coach, the answer, the answer, would be, the answer to everything was more intensity, as opposed to having the experience as a head coach to actually coach the possession. And that's not to say I didn't have a really good grasp, but areas where I was still developing as a coach, I replaced with getting after somebody and yelling and screaming and ranting and raving and creating such a energy and intensity that it was overwhelming. And then I had Bob with me as my tag team partner. So yeah, it was great. But then I would say also too, butterflies, man. I was, night before my first practice as a head college coach, I was nervous. Butterflies, your first practice at the college level as a head coach, I was hyperventilating on the way down to the court. And then you start, then you knock down a Red Bull and all hell broke loose.
And Dan, how about the thought of learning as you go, like a great teacher continuing to be a great learner and being open to, getting to know young people better and their sport even better as you go along.
Yeah, I just think that's benefited me throughout my career. It's like you start off as a high school assistant coach. When I'm done at Seton Hall, you go from high school assistant to college assistant, right? College assistant to high school head coach, low Division I head coach, mid-major head coach, and now, high major level. So for me, I've had just the benefit of taking all the proper steps along the way in terms of just never going to a level that I'm not prepared to coach at. I didn't fast track or, be the beneficiary of, being a high major assistant at a blue blood and then first time head coach at the high major level. I've been allowed to take all the right steps in my career, and I've also been smart enough to study my craft and to, have a dad that taught me, that you got to learn every day in your position and absorb as much basketball as you can in terms of watching and learning and using whatever resources are out there to become better every day. I had a father who modeled going to clinics, and listening to every speaker and watching any game that he could put his eyes on every single night. So I was just lucky to have a dad that modeled that for me, that you don't have all the answers as a coach and that you never do. And if you're not always learning, you're going to get passed by other coaches.
Thanks a lot.
You got it.
Kai Stevens.
Hey, Dan. How are you?
Good.
Good. We talked a lot last year about kind of that grueling year two where there was going to be a lot of, growing pains and close games, but a lot of really crushing losses for year two. So in your eyes, what do you expect out of your team and expect your team to look like in year three on the court?
Yeah, I almost predicted it perfectly. And unfortunately, it all came to fruition. It was just understanding these rebuilding processes because I've been through it before. I was fully prepared for the way the season unfolded. I did think that, for me, we should have won a couple of more of those close games, those lessons of the mistakes we made down the stretch of games. Should have stuck, more. And, we probably played to more of a 21-win team than we did a 19-win team in the regular season last year. And, but, the silver lining was that we did learn how to win again as a program. Our program maturity and the way we carry ourselves, is a lot greater, than it was. These guys know how to practice. That there's an understanding of what we need from each individual. And, I just think that we're, we know who we are. We know the style that we need to play. And I think that we gained confidence with the returning players last year, that we will have the ability to close games and make big plays down the stretch because, we return a number of guys that were on the court in winning time when things started to turn last year.
Danny.
Hey, Coach. So obviously the past few months have been crazy. The beginning of the school year has been unlike anything we've ever seen, unlike anything you've ever coached through. But getting back on the court today in the first full practice, did it start to feel like maybe a little bit more normal?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good question. I think it doesn't feel. None of this feels normal. I think today would have been first night. Phil is right. Tonight would have been first night. In a normal situation, Phil would have me handing out pizzas and coffee and different things to to the best student fans in the country, and the best fan base in the country would be getting ready to pile into Gamble for first night to celebrate UConn basketball, men's and women's. So but our staff, we've been coming in and getting COVID tested since May. As a staff, we've been working. We've been in here, 5-6 days a week, functioning as a staff. So that part feels pretty normal to us. We've adjusted to doing our job through technology. I would say just from a practice and it's hard to wrap your mind around the season's going to be on us in 5-6 weeks here or 41 days, 40 days, whatever it is. When there's no first night or no secret scrimmages or no exhibition, I think usually those are markers for us that hey, wake the hell up. First night for me is when the crowd's there and just you feel it oh man, the games are coming soon. So yeah, from that standpoint, it doesn't feel the same. But yeah, the practice today, we got after it and we played and it had the intensity of a first practice, energy of a first practice. So I know I rambled, but
Thanks, Coach.
yelled at people for 2 hours plus. So I'm all over the place.
John?
Yeah, hi, Dan. When we talked with Andre last week, he raved about James and RJ and the way that they've taken him, under their respective wing and have been able to just kind of get him accustomed to what college basketball is like. What do you make of, and how pleased are you with that dynamic?
James is, James has become a better communicator, John, but James, the way that James is modeling for all the young guys and even for the older guys. James is modeling a lot of the play in and play out intensity and urgency that Christian brought that was so valuable to the program, last year in particular. So, James, the game speed reps and non-live drills, James is setting a tempo and a pace that is forcing the other players to keep up. And then RJ, RJ is such a kind of charismatic guy and such a great kind of unifier of people that he just does a great job of bringing people in and making them comfortable. And to John, it's the culture, our culture, some coaches are, afraid to use it because it's become some buzzword, but it's, culture is a real thing. It takes time to get built. And our culture is a lot more welcoming to new players because it's on a lot steadier ground. It's a, we've got a really, really good culture, which makes young players feel more welcome and more comfortable.
Just wanted to get a thought from you. Adama, in short and very accurately said last week, we have a lot of big guys. And I'm curious, with what you're about to embark on, this season, you're going to play that double round robin 20-game conference schedule. When you have that front court depth that you possess, how much do you hope that can be a difference maker in what you do in the Big East?
Yeah, John, it's and Adama right now, I'd imagine him and Javante are, probably back in their room right now with steam coming out of their ears and eyes and mouth because it was overload today. That was first college practice, man. So there's a lot. There's a lot. But yeah, we could play it. I think the strength, again, we're deep, and when we're healthy, we're really, really deep, and we have a versatility to us in terms of being able to play this thing a couple different ways. We could play big at the 4 and 5, with really experienced, exciting guard play. We could play, we've got stretch fours. We could play 4 guards because we've got bigger perimeter people. We're physical in the front court. We've got length. We could play and match up with all the different styles that we're going to see. And, so I think we're equipped, for a lot of different styles.
A couple more, Gavin.
One injury update too. We do have an injury update from practice today. Evan Freeman took an errant pass today. It dislocated his pinky in the first defensive warm-up drills, a couple minutes in. But I mean, all of Husky Nation will be very proud of this former champion because he went off to the side, and the trainer he demanded that the trainer pull it, and he entered right back into practice. So all the guys on that '99 team would have been proud of Kevin today. He will be, I believe, going for an X-ray. Kevin? X-ray. So Kevin is getting an X-ray on his pinky. He did dislocate it. So just to make sure.
Gavin, go ahead. You've mentioned about your gains, physical gains. How much is the impact is the new director of sports performance, Mike, had on that, and kind of what have been your impressions of how he's worked with the team?
Yeah, I mean, we have a great, our strength staff, and it's done a great job. I think the players, it's nothing unless the players buy in, So, I just think that the culture being where it's at, going into year 3, the culture's much improved, so the buy-in of the players into your program is greater, so they're going to get better results. Plus, listen, I admired the teams at Cincinnati under Mick and under John, and their physical toughness, their athletic ability, their mental toughness, and you do obviously a couple of those things come directly from the strength program, and so that was a big reason why we hired Mike, because of what we saw when we competed against those teams, and our physical stature is much improved, and Mike can certainly deserves a lot of credit for that, but also the players too.
And how much has your mental toughness grown, coming what you went through last year and going into this year?
Yeah, I mean, that's a real thing. I mean, people, we showed the players a breakdown of I think we're 939 days today since my press conference. So we've been building to where we are today for 939 days. We've had to fight, every single day to improve all aspects of the program. So, we before we got on the practice court today, we did a brief history lesson from 2014 to where we stand today, and the fact that we've got another big step to take this year. Yeah, I mean, being able to, winning 5 in a row to end the season last year, we watched clips. Part of the montage we put together was not closing out that Temple game last year on the road, which would have meant, I think, 7 straight wins to end the season last year for us. So, we're not where we want to be. I mean, people are gonna, pick us relatively high in a new league, but we're not going to get seduced into thinking that we've arrived. Like, we are in year 3 of a rebuild, and like, we've got to show up with that edge because we're still climbing the mountain. We're hunting right now. We're not going to allow ourselves to become complacent. We're still incredibly hungry because we're not where we want to be yet. We'll be edgy.
Straight from his new website, Kevin McNamara.
Hey, Mac.
Hey, Dan, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Kevin, what's up, man?
Not too much. I hope you're okay.
I'm good, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm curious what the heck you guys did on May 20th and June the 1st as a staff. There's no players around. I think other staffs in the league play golf or hit on the beach. What did you guys do?
Yeah, we were tired. Like, Kevin, our wives all kicked us out. They had enough, so we had to get out. Dogs, our pets were sick of us. Our wives, kids, everyone had enough. We started breaking down the season. Like we watched. Obviously, we studied our season. We started to study the Big East. Obviously, we did a lot of work in recruiting. We've every 10 days, 2 weeks. We were with 21s. We're zooming and really just tried to stay as busy as we could in our jobs. That way, and talking basketball and watching, EuroLeague offense and, and studying NBA teams at both ends of the court. We just, we spent a lot of time together, as a staff, and just tried to function like it was a normal work week. Even though it was just, there were no players around and literally no one else was on campus. And Phil Shardis arrived later.
Well, Phil Shardis has veteran insight.
Yeah. He could afford that extra time off. With obviously his expertise and experience. We just right, Kevin. So.
Got it. I appreciate it, Dan. Thanks.
Good talking again. Yeah.
A couple more guys. Dave Borges.
Hey, Dan, you talk about Jalen's improved athleticism, or maybe what we haven't seen yet. First of all, was part of that maybe that we didn't see last year because of his preseason injury, maybe held him back a little bit? And also, when you say athleticism, is it speed, quickness, agility, bounce, or a little bit of everything? Or what do we expect to see this year?
Yeah, I think the injury, the high ankle sprain in preseason, it definitely set him back, and it probably cost him 3 weeks, in terms of having an earlier impact on what's going on. And then I would say, with the physical, and then he also knew, after the first Cincinnati game in a row, things got off to a bad start in conference play for us. He took an ankle sprain there the day before the game, which had in the middle of the team slowed him down. But I would say he moved so effortlessly around the court, and he doesn't look like he's moving quickly or has a ton of speed, but he's just he's very effortless in terms of his mobility, but and the way he gets off the floor. You saw it last year. His athletic ability, the reverse layup with the left hand at the XL. I think against Central Florida. The spinning layup against Houston. I mean, you saw flashes of it, of athleticism, just not the above the rim, which I think you'll see this year. But I think more so just getting by people and not getting bumped off his move. I think you're going to see that from him. When he makes that initial burst with the dribble, people are not going to be able to bump him quite as easily because he's up 15 pounds and he's got upper body strength, which is and lower body strength now. That's going to allow him to be able to play more north-south.
Thanks.
You got it.
No, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. A lot of people talk about, the year 3 jump at URI, and I think a lot of people are expecting it here or ready for it. But aside from just, improving the record, are there any tangible goals you set out for your team on day 1 of official practice today?
Yeah, I don't think anything, for us, tangible. Obviously, we want to play. Obviously, one of our goals is to play in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, we want to compete at a high level in the Big East. but I would say at this point, nothing concrete. There's nothing concrete that we're targeting right now from that standpoint. We're trying to implement, a slightly different system of defense this year, more of a pressure system, in a variety of ways, which is in year 3 at Rhode Island. Once our talent and athleticism and depth was better, we were able to get after people and turn people over and play more in transition. But I've only had 1 year in my career where we didn't win more games the next year than we did the year before that. And that was a year at Rhode Island going into year 4 when our best player tore his ACL, E.C. Matthews, in the opener. That was the one time in my career where I didn't win more games that next year than I had the year before, in 10 years as a head coach. So we just want to take another big step as a program and continue to make progress and keep elevating things, and eventually get it to the point where we're competing for the Big East championship and a national championship. That's what you sign on to do here.
Okay, Dom, last one.
Yeah, Dan, just do you have any clues or any more hints as to what your schedule is going to look like? I mean, obviously we know about the Legends Classic. Is there anything else you can update us on with the schedule? Don't look at Phil. I mean, it's just
it's chaos. No, I have no idea what's going on. There's I think we'll have more of an idea of a starting date for the Big East opener. Soon here. There's some adjustments going on that way, which then is creating some issues with what we have slated currently for the non-conference. I would say right now, just with the non-conference, there's a fair amount of shuffling. I don't want to say hysteria because that's maybe too strong of a word right now, but there's just not a lot of certainty behind, I guess, like what's going to be played, which day, you heard a team might not be participating in something, or, it's pretty chaotic right now, the scheduling. So, hopefully, next week we'll have some more concrete, answers both with non-conference and conference.